Once upon a time, in a small village, there was a young man named Jake. He was kind-hearted and always willing to help others, but he had one major flaw: his short temper. Jake would easily get angry over small things. If someone said something he didn't like, he would snap at them immediately. If someone made a mistake, he would lash out and criticize them harshly. Over time, because of this behavior, his friends and neighbors began to avoid him. They were afraid of making him angry and preferred to stay away. One day, after having a big argument with his best friend, Jake felt lonely and regretful. He realized that if he didn't change, he would lose the people who mattered most in his life. Determined to find a way to control his emotions, he decided to seek guidance from the wise monk in the village, who was known for his calmness and wisdom. When Jake arrived at the temple, the monk was sitting in the peaceful garden, tending to the flowers. Seeing Jake, the monk smiled and asked, "You seem troubled, my child. What brings you here?" Jake bowed and said, "Master, I struggle to control my temper. Even the smallest things make me angry, and I react without thinking. I don't want to be this way anymore. Please teach me how to control my emotions." The monk nodded but didn't say anything. Instead, he placed an empty cup in front of Jake and began pouring water into it. The cup filled up quickly, but the monk continued pouring, causing water to overflow onto the table and onto the ground. Jake was puzzled and exclaimed, "Master, stop. The cup is full. It can't hold any more water." The monk put the water jug down, looked into Jake's eyes, and asked, "What do you learn from this?" Jake thought for a moment and replied, "When a cup is full and you keep pouring, it overflows." The monk nodded and said, "Exactly. This cup is like your mind. When you allow negative emotions like anger, frustration, and stress to fill your mind, they will eventually overflow, affecting not only you, but also those around you. Do you see this happening in your own life?" Jake's eyes widened as he started to understand. "So tell me, what should you do to prevent the water from overflowing?" the monk asked. Jake pondered for a while and then said, "I can pour some water out or be more careful when filling the cup." The monk smiled approvingly. "That's correct. If you want to control your emotions, you must learn to pour out the negativity and keep your mind balanced. If you let anger build up, it will eventually explode and harm both you and others." Jake then asks, "But Master, how can I pour out the negative emotions from my mind?" The monk spoke gently. "I will teach you a simple but powerful method. Every time you feel anger rising inside you, do these 3 things. Pause immediately. Do not react instantly when you feel angry. Take 3 deep breaths. Focus on your breathing to regain control. Ask yourself, is this anger worth it? Will it solve the problem? If not, let it go, just like pouring out some water from the cup. Practice this every day, and you will see a change in yourself." Jake listened carefully and promised to follow the monk's advice. At first, Jake still struggled with his temper, but every time he felt anger building up, he remembered the overflowing cup. He practiced pausing, breathing, and thinking before reacting. Gradually, he realized he was getting better at controlling his emotions. People around him also noticed the change and began to feel more comfortable around him. A few months later, Jake had transformed into a calmer and more patient person. No more heated arguments, no more hurtful words. For the first time in his life, he felt truly at peace. One day, Jake returned to the temple and bowed to the monk in gratitude. "Master, I finally understand the power of controlling emotions. I am no longer an overflowing cup." The monk smiled and said, "Well done, my child. When you learn to control your emotions, you take control of your life. Emotions are like water in a cup. If we let negativity fill our minds, it will eventually overflow and hurt those around us. Controlling emotions leads to a more peaceful life. When we learn to pause, breathe, and think before reacting, we avoid unnecessary conflict. Mastering emotions means mastering life. A person who can control their emotions gains respect, builds strong relationships, and lives a happier life. Are you letting your cup overflow? If so, start learning to pour out the negativity and take control of your emotions today.